The Kurdish people, with their distinct language, culture and history, have long inhabited a region spanning parts of modern-day Turkey, Iran, Iraq and Syria. Despite their ancient roots, they have faced numerous obstacles in their quest for self-determination. A pivotal moment in their history came with the Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916. This secret pact between Britain and France, negotiated during World War I, aimed to divide the crumbling Ottoman Empire. The agreement disregarded existing ethnic and religious demographics, carving up the region into spheres of influence for the European powers. The Sykes-Picot Agreement had a profound impact on the Kurds. Their ancestral lands were divided among the newly formed states of Turkey, Iran, Iraq and Syria. This division denied them the opportunity to establish an independent Kurdistan, a long-held aspiration. The agreement sowed the seeds for future conflicts and instability, as the Kurds found themselves minorities in each of these countries. Their cultural and linguistic rights were often suppressed, and they faced discrimination and persecution. The Sykes-Picot Agreement exemplifies the historical betrayals experienced by the Kurdish people. It serves as a stark reminder of how international agreements, driven by political expediency, can have lasting consequences for entire populations. The arbitrary borders drawn by European powers continue to shape the political landscape of the Middle East today, fueling tensions and conflicts. Following the end of World War I, the Treaty of Sèvres, signed in 1920, offered a glimmer of hope for Kurdish self-determination. The treaty, intended to dismantle the Ottoman Empire, included provisions for a potential Kurdish state. Article 62 of the treaty stipulated that a referendum be held in predominantly Kurdish areas to determine their future status, potentially leading to independence. However, this promise was short-lived. The Treaty of Sèvres faced strong opposition, particularly from Turkey, which viewed it as an unjust punishment. The Turkish War of Independence, led by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, resulted in the overthrow of the Ottoman government and the establishment of the Republic of Turkey. The newly formed Turkish state rejected the Treaty of Sèvres and negotiated a new agreement, the Treaty of Lausanne, in 1923. This treaty made no mention of Kurdish autonomy or a referendum, effectively nullifying the promises made at Sèvres. The Treaty of Lausanne marked another significant setback for Kurdish aspirations. The failure to implement the provisions of the Treaty of Sèvres reinforced a sense of betrayal among the Kurdish people. It also highlighted the challenges they faced in securing international support for their cause. The Kurdish question became increasingly intertwined with the internal politics of the states in which they resided, further complicating their struggle for self-determination. The Kurdish struggle for self-determination has been further complicated by internal divisions and shifting alliances. Different Kurdish factions, often with varying ideologies and goals, have emerged over time. These internal conflicts have, at times, hindered their ability to present a united front in their struggle for rights and recognition. One prominent example is the rivalry between the Kurdistan Democratic Party, or KDP, and the Kurdistan Workers' Party, known as the PKK. The KDP, led by the Barzani family, has historically dominated Kurdish politics in Iraq. The PKK, on the other hand, has been engaged in an armed struggle against Turkey since the 1980s, advocating for Kurdish autonomy and cultural rights. The differing approaches and goals of these two groups have often led to tensions and even armed clashes. These internal conflicts have weakened the overall Kurdish movement and made it challenging to achieve broader unity and cooperation. The complex web of alliances and rivalries within the Kurdish community reflects the broader political landscape of the Middle East. External actors, such as regional powers and global superpowers, have often exploited these divisions for their own strategic interests. This interference has further complicated the Kurdish struggle and hindered their ability to chart their own destiny. Despite the numerous betrayals and setbacks they have faced, the Kurdish people have demonstrated remarkable resilience and determination in their pursuit of self-determination. From peaceful protests and political activism to armed resistance, they have employed a range of strategies to assert their rights and preserve their cultural identity. Their struggle has garnered international attention with growing support for their plight. The Kurdish people have made significant strides in recent decades, particularly in the aftermath of the First Gulf War and the subsequent establishment of the Kurdistan Regional Government, or KRG, in northern Iraq. The KRG, while facing its own challenges and limitations, has provided the Kurds with a degree of autonomy and self-governance. However, their struggle is far from over. They continue to face threats to their security and identity, and the dream of a unified, independent Kurdistan remains elusive. The Kurdish experience serves as a poignant reminder of the importance of self-determination and the enduring human spirit in the face of adversity. Their story is one of resilience, resistance, and an unwavering commitment to preserving their culture, language, and identity. As the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East continues to evolve, the Kurdish people remain determined to chart their own course and secure their rightful place in the world.
The Kurds, a historically marginalized ethnic group spread across Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran, found themselves at the forefront of the global fight against ISIS. As the terrorist group swept across Iraq and Syria, Kurdish forces emerged as crucial allies for the United States and its Western partners. The Kurdish People's Protection Units, or YPG, in Syria in particular, proved to be a formidable fighting force, repelling ISIS advances and liberating key territories. This alliance, born out of necessity, brought the Kurds into the international spotlight and garnered them significant military and logistical support. However, this alliance came with its own set of complexities. The Kurds, despite their shared struggle against ISIS, harbored their own political aspirations, ranging from autonomy to outright independence. The YPG, for instance, is closely linked to the Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, a group designated as a terrorist organization by Turkey, the United States, and the European Union. This association created friction between the Kurds and Turkey, a NATO member and a key player in the region. The Turkish government views the PKK and its affiliates, including the YPG, as existential threats to its national security. Ankara has long battled the PKK, which has been waging an armed insurgency in Turkey's southeast for decades. The emergence of a strong Kurdish entity along its southern border, particularly one with ties to the PKK, has been a major source of anxiety for Turkey. This fear has driven Turkish military interventions in Syria and Iraq, targeting Kurdish groups that it perceives as extensions of the PKK. Turkey's perspective on Kurdish groups, particularly the PKK and its affiliates, is rooted in a long and troubled history. The PKK, founded in the late 1970s, has been engaged in a violent struggle against the Turkish state, seeking autonomy for the Kurdish population in Turkey's southeast. This conflict has claimed tens of thousands of lives and left deep scars on Turkish society. Ankara views the PKK as a terrorist organization, holding it responsible for numerous attacks on Turkish soil. It accuses the group of targeting civilians, security forces, and infrastructure, aiming to destabilize the country and undermine its territorial integrity. The PKK's use of violence, coupled with its demands for Kurdish self-determination, has made it a highly sensitive issue in Turkish politics. The Turkish government's stance towards the YPG, the Syrian Kurdish militia, is inextricably linked to its perception of the PKK. Ankara sees the YPG as an extension of the PKK, sharing the same ideology, leadership, and objectives. The two groups, according to Turkey, are two sides of the same coin, posing a direct threat to Turkish national security. The rise of the Kurds as a major player in the fight against ISIS presented a complex dilemma for international powers. On the one hand, Kurdish forces, particularly the YPG in Syria, proved to be invaluable allies in the battle against the terrorist group. Their effectiveness on the ground, coupled with their secular and relatively inclusive ideology, made them attractive partners for Western powers. However, this alliance came at a cost. Turkey, a NATO member and a crucial regional power, viewed the YPG as an extension of the PKK, a group it considered a terrorist organization. The United States and its allies found themselves caught between their support for the Kurds and their desire to maintain strong relations with Turkey. This delicate balancing act has had significant implications for the Kurds. While Western support enabled them to make significant territorial gains and assert their autonomy, it also made them vulnerable to Turkish military operations. Turkey, fearing the emergence of a Kurdish statelet along its border, launched cross-border operations into Syria, targeting YPG positions and displacing Kurdish populations. The future of the Kurds remains uncertain, caught between the shifting sands of geopolitics and their own aspirations for self-determination. Despite their sacrifices in the fight against ISIS, the Kurds face an uphill battle in securing their long-term interests. The withdrawal of US troops from Syria, for instance, left them exposed to Turkish military offensives and undermined their hard-won gains. The complex web of alliances and rivalries in the region further complicates the Kurdish situation. The Syrian government, backed by Russia and Iran, seeks to reassert its authority over Kurdish-held territories. Turkey, while engaging in peace talks with the PKK, remains wary of Kurdish autonomy and continues to target Kurdish groups it deems a threat. The Kurds, divided among themselves and lacking a unified leadership, struggle to navigate this treacherous landscape. Their fate hinges on their ability to forge alliances, both regional and international, while balancing their aspirations for autonomy with the need for security and stability. Whether they can achieve their goals in the face of such daunting challenges remains to be seen.